What's up everyone, and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Conor McGregor gives prediction for Michael Chandler fight. Conor McGregor's return to the octagon will, without question, be one of the biggest fights of the year. As he and Michael Chandler go about their duties coaching The Ultimate Fighter Season 31, fans and haters alike are anxiously awaiting news on when the Irish superstar will meet the former Bellator MMA lightweight champion inside the octagon. During a recent interview with the Mac Life, the former two-division UFC champion revealed that he actually likes Chandler as a person. For a fighter who frequently finds himself at odds with his opponents, McGregor surprisingly said that he has no issues with Iron Mike.
I've no issues with him at all. I think he's a good fighter. And coaching against him, I'm interested to see his coaching style. He's more of an athlete type of a guy than a technical martial artist. I know he's got some skills in the wrestling department and he's got some skills overall. But as far as the small, finer details, I just don't think. I'm not sure. I'm interested to see. I'm happy where I'm at. It'll be an interesting one to go against him before I go against him.
So far, McGregor's run as a coach this season has been uneventful in regards to altercations with the opposing coaching staff, like we saw with Cody Garbrandt on Team Faber the last time he coached. From the little we do know about filming, both men have said that things are going well. Despite that, Chael Sonnen believes McGregor needs to do some reflecting on his leadership style. After footage popped up on McGregor's social media showing the former two-division champ outside of the Tough House, many accused him of being drunk. Sonnen spoke in a recent video released on his YouTube about the matter, questioning McGregor's ability to lead. The way the American gangster sees things, if McGregor is going to be drinking, he shouldn't be in a position to mentor fighters at the Ultimate Fighter house. As a former coach of the show, Sonnen seemed to be of the mindset that coaches should be held to a higher standard while on the show. Do you think the criticism is warranted? Or is the fight community jumping to conclusions by speculating that McGregor was drunk? Jon Jones reacts to Francis Ngannou leaving the UFC. Prior to former heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou parting ways with the UFC, the expectation was that he and Jon Jones would meet inside the octagon for an epic clash. With the UFC and the Predator unable to reach an agreement, however, the two sides parted ways and Ngannou officially became a free agent. With Jones's return to the octagon just weeks away, the former pound-for-pound kingpin spoke about the former champion's departure, saying,
Francis had the opportunity to face me, and he opted out of the opportunity. If anyone should be criticized, it's Francis Ngannou. If I'm correct, he was offered the biggest contract in heavyweight history. He had the opportunity to be a guy to dethrone me, and he didn't believe in himself. Francis didn't believe in himself. He wasn't willing to gamble on himself.
As fans were quick to point out, however, Jones was on the record as saying last month that he was happy for Ngannou. At the time, he related Ngannou's struggles in negotiating with the UFC to his own. At the time, he wished the Predator all the best on his journey. As fight week approaches, it'll be interesting to see if Jones is asked about the sudden and unprovoked change of heart. Before we continue, make sure you give that like button some love and be sure to subscribe to the MMA Zone for all of the latest news. DC weighs in on an immediate rematch between Makhachev and Volkanovski. Hall of Famer Daniel Cormier does not think Islam Makhachev and Alexander Volkanovski should run back their Fight of the Year contender for the lightweight belt just yet. After the fight, both men agreed to a rematch given how close the fight was. In fact, backstage after the scrap, Volkanovski even joked that the pair should fight in Abu Dhabi to make up for Makhachev competing in front of a hostile Perth crowd. DC was not sold. He spoke during a recent episode of his DC and RC show where he pointed out that Volkanovski should go down and unify the featherweight title by competing against Yair Rodriguez, and Makhachev should take on another top contender at 155 first before a rematch.
And I don't know if it's fair to Beneil Dariush, if he beats Charles Oliveira, to not get his chance to fight for the lightweight championship of the world. And this is the danger in super fights, because you get a close super fight and people are clamoring to see it again, when in reality we have two divisions that need the champions back in order to really give us a little clarity.
What do you want to see happen in the division? Should Makhachev and Volkanovski run it back, or should they go their separate ways for now? Give us your thoughts in the comments section below. Gilbert Burns talks upcoming clash with Jorge Masvidal. At UFC 287, Gilbert Burns will finally get his wish when he steps into the octagon to face Jorge Masvidal in a highly anticipated showdown. This fight will see the two men clash after months and months of back and forth in the media leading up to UFC 283 in Rio de Janeiro, where Burns originally wanted to fight Masvidal. With tensions running high, Burns is expecting an absolute war against the BMF. He spoke in a recent interview on Submission Radio, saying,
I don't think it's going to be easy. I think it's going to be bloody. I think you're going to get to a point that we're going to bang, you're going to a war, and let's see a finish. You know, maybe second, maybe late third round. But I'm looking forward to a finish, you know, and then whatever it takes. It could be a jiu-jitsu, it could be submission, it could be a knockout, it could be a TKO, whatever it is. I'm looking forward to finish Jorge Masvidal, UFC 287.
With Masvidal in a must-win position after losing 3 straight, do you think he's able to get the job done against Burns? Or will the former title challenger be too much for him? Drop your predictions in the comment section below. Chris Curtis unhappy with UFC 287 bout order. Middleweight Chris Curtis wasn't too happy to see teenage sensation Raul Rosas Jr. get a spot on the UFC 287 pay-per-view card over him. After the reported lineup dropped for the April 8th card, Curtis saw that his scrap was slated to be the featured preliminary bout of the night before the broadcast switches over to pay-per-view. He tweeted about the situation, saying, "Not gonna lie, that bout order is completely one of the best cards of the year, and I get bounced from the main card for a child? I fought on short notice, have taken on whoever, and gone 4-1 to get ranked, and I get bounced for a kid with 1 fight? Yeah, I'm salty as Of course, the UFC is likely trying to capitalize on the viral nature of the teenager. After winning his Dana White's Contender Series fight back in September, Rosas Jr. made his Octagon debut less than 3 months later, where he defeated Jay Perrin. Do you think the self-proclaimed future 3-division champion deserves to be on the pay-per-view card in just his second fight in the UFC? Sugar Sean O'Malley could be backup fighter for Cejudo versus Sterling. Although bantamweight #1 contender Sean O'Malley seems to have been leapfrogged for a title shot by Triple C, Henry Cejudo, the streaking contender could very well find himself in a position to be the backup fighter in case either man cannot make weight or is forced out of the May 6th fight. While the situation would see O'Malley get paid, the fact of the matter is that cutting down to the 135-pound limit is incredibly taxing. As Sugar Sean has stated before, it takes a lot of work outside of camp to stay lean just for him to be able to cut to 135. In the recent video posted to his YouTube, O'Malley talked about being the official backup fighter, saying,
leaves me in a little position. You know, do I want to be backup fighter? I could be technically if I wanted to be for this amount of money. Do I need that amount of money? Not really. I'm just weird flex. No, I'm kidding. But it's just like weight cuts are hard, dude.
Do you want to see O'Malley be the backup fighter on the card? Or do you think another fighter should get the honors? Give us your thoughts in the comment section below. And now for our breaking news story of the day. UFC fight updates and booking roundup. This week, news surfaced that Abu Azater had been forced out of his upcoming March 11th clash with Cedric Dumas. As a result, Josh Fremd will now be stepping in on short notice for the fight. This week also saw Garrett Armfield pulled from the upcoming UFC Vegas 70 card as a result of a medical issue with his opponent, Dana White's Contender Series veteran Jose Johnson. This is now the second time that Johnson's official UFC debut has been scrapped. So far, no word on who Armfield could fight next in the wake of the cancellation. Next up, we have a May 20th clash between Abdul Razak Al Hassan and Bruno Ferreira. The two fighters both have a slew of first and second round finishes, giving fans plenty to look forward to. Last but certainly not least, we have a scrap between Mayra Bueno Silva and former champion Miesha Tate for June 3rd. For Tate, this fight will see her look to snap a 2-fight skid that saw her lose her flyweight debut to Lauren Murphy back in July. Do you think the former champion is able to get back into the win column on June 3rd? Drop your predictions below. Thank you so much for joining us today. What do you make of what's going on in the fight world? Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on all the latest news from the MMA Zone. See you next time.